A new study has found evidence that suggests that the giant pterosaurs of the age of dinosaurs were much better parents than their smaller, earlier counterparts. Welcome back to Paleopedia, and the pterosaurs were an extremely diverse and long-lasting group of flying reptiles, beginning in the Triassic period and ending at the end of the Cretaceous period alongside the non-avian dinosaurs. Throughout their evolutionary history, they filled several different ecological roles and ranged widely in sizes, starting out as tiny little bird-sized tree dwellers, eventually becoming, in some cases, giant plane-sized apex predators. And this new study suggests that at least part of the reason why these later pterosaurs, known as edgedarchids, were able to get so unbelievably huge is because they were better parents than their earlier relatives. So this team of researchers from Ireland, China, and the UK were looking at fossils of baby pterosaurs and their adult counterparts to see how their growth cycle lined up with each other. Apparently, this was a very difficult task because pterosaur fossils are already difficult to find due to their overall rarity because of the nature of the bones that are becoming fossils in the first place. To help reduce their overall weight, just like birds, pterosaurs have hollow bones, and hollow bones don't fossilize quite as well as solid bones. So pterosaur fossils are already hard to find, and when they are found, they're often pretty fragmentary. So having baby pterosaur fossils is even harder. Fortunately though, the team was able to use more classic specimens from the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods of North America, along with more relatively newer finds from China, to get their data. Specifically, they were looking for differences in growth rates of specific parts of the body of earlier Jurassic pterosaurs and the later larger Cretaceous pterosaurs. So we're talking about measurements of the skulls, wing bones, backbones, hind legs, things like that, to figure out how these animals developed throughout their lives. Fortunately, no matter how big a pterosaur got, they all, due to egg size restrictions, had to start out very, very small. So we are able to see differences in hatchling pterosaurs compared to their adult counterparts. The results that they found were pretty interesting. The smaller, earlier Jurassic pterosaurs like arachnathids, when they hatched, already had larger wing bones compared to the rest of their bodies, that their bodies would then grow into, indicating that they could probably fly within just a couple days of hatching. By comparison, the later pterosaurs like Pteranodon and larger edgedarchids were born with smaller limb bones and bigger heads, indicating that they weren't able to fly right away and they had to let their bodies catch up to their heads. These larger, later pterosaurs also had a faster growth rate overall compared to their earlier smaller counterparts. This is called allometry, where the body proportions change over time, and we see this in modern animals like humans, dogs, and cats. We even see this in birds. All of these animals, birds, humans, dogs, cats, they're born with overall larger heads compared to the rest of their body size, and their bodies have to quickly grow to catch up to their heads. And this type of allometry is often linked with parental care, as your young can't take care of itself as soon as it comes out of the womb or the egg or whatever. The parents have to raise the child until the child is able to take care of itself, and we see that with pterosaurs. And it seems as though for the pterosaurs, being parents is what, at least in part, allowed them to get so big towards the end of the Cretaceous period. Since the adults were taking care of their young, they were able to, as a trade-off, just get bigger over time because they could actually grow that larger body. Whereas for their earlier smaller counterparts, they weren't taking care of their young were capable of taking care of themselves almost immediately after hatching, so they couldn't take the time to actually get bigger. They just kind of had to immediately start surviving. This study is really cool in my opinion, because it might not seem like a lot of importance, but it helps us understand exactly how different groups of life evolved over time. Evolution is all about trade-offs, and for those later pterosaurs, the trade-off of being good parents was they were able to be big enough to compete with even the most fearsome of dinosaurs.